In studio, in our Psyche of Success slot, is Andrew Human, CEO of the Loeries, a non-profit association that rewards innovation and creativity across all spheres of brand communication. Now, the Loeries were created in 1978 to encourage and reward innovative television commercials in South Africa. Since then, the Loeries have grown to encompass all areas of brand communication across Africa and the Middle East. Welcome, Andrew.
Hi, Allon.
Okay, now, I normally have my shoes off in this session, but with the moment you walked in, you saw my shoes off. You're my first guest to take their shoes off too, so we have a first.
Thank you.
So, Andrew, I really want to zone in on two areas of your story. The one is the fact that you are a PhD, you've got a doctorate, but nothing to do with the advertising world or even the creative world, right?
Well, it's a good question. That I always say, and people often think it's quite arrogant, but there's a sense of truth in it that an engineer can do anything. Mm-hmm. So basically my background, I studied material science and engineering. And it really was a fantastic undergraduate degree in that what you really learn is you learn a methodology to deal with things you've never dealt with before. Mm. So whereas the whole teaching of engineering is to problem solve. Mm. So it teaches you to evaluate a problem and solve it, no matter what the problem is. Mm. So it's actually a really great background that I've always continued to use.
You were offered the Loeries to take it over. It wasn't exactly in a healthy state.
Yeah, so the Loeries in 2004 got into a bit of a bad way. It was run by a separate association, and I think it just got old and tired, and then the Creative Circle took it over, and they wanted to revitalize it, put some new energy into it, and I was asked to come in and get involved at that point. So as you say, then you're handed, you say, here's a problem that you've never solved before, and what you do is then you look at the basic inherent, and I think one of the key things is to look at the value. So often we even get stuck in a tunnel vision because you see what's there and you think you have to keep going down the path that's there. And I think one of the key difficulties is to step back and almost close your eyes and say, you know, if I was starting with an absolute blank slate, what would I do? So if this current bridge wasn't there, how would I behave? And I often find that a big mental challenge to, you know, because you find you're just going down a route because the route is there, not because it's the best route to take. So one of the things then in 2005 was to look at it and say, okay, which parts do you build on, what do you keep, what do you revitalize, what do you start again completely?
But when you do that, there are a lot of people who are also used to that path being in place the way it was. There must be a huge amount of change management resistance with the incumbent players, stakeholders in and around the Loeries that you had to convince?
Yeah, absolutely. So that is the challenge, because you go, okay, so we looked at it then at the time, and the Loeries had been at Sun City for many years, and it had become entrenched, so it would become almost, the Loeries is at Sun City. So I actually went on a road trip with another guy, and we got in my car and drove all over the country and said, where should we host the Loeries? And we arrived in Margate, and we stood on the beach in Margate and said, hey, this looks pretty cool, let's have it here. Then we had to go back and say to everyone, the Loeries are going to be in Margate. And that was a huge, exactly as you say, and that was a big challenge, because that's where you're getting into the area of unknown, and you're getting into risks where you go, okay, if Margate, it's either going to work out or it's not, but you never can say for sure up front where that change is going to bring you. And there we had challenges because we had sponsors, we had large stakeholders, and you had to go to them and you say, you know, you've been comfortably sitting in Sun City for years, and you've been at the Palace and the Valley of the Waves, and now we're taking you to Margate. So, and that's the thing, we thought to really also the thing to show that there's change. That was the one key thing, to say let's burn that and start again.
you make that call because you're the CEO, the MD of Loeries, and now, like, you make that call. Like, there has to be a level of anxiety.
Yeah, then you sit with. I mean, I must say and one of the things that I've kept doing throughout is to maintain Loeries to be fresh. The main aim is, as a brand,
yes,
it is supposed to be an inspiring brand. So that's what it offers. Is it says it must be inspirational. It must inspire you to go and do better work. It must inspire you to do innovative work. So you have to constantly say, what is the Loeries doing so that it represents those values. So every year we're saying, okay, let's do something we never did last year. And the nice thing, what I've learned now is that now we have the luxury of I'm able to try more things, and I'm able to say, you know what, that didn't work, let's just get rid of it. That didn't work, but it has legs, we have to improve. So now you can go, I'm building on something over several years, or I've tried something and it's definitely, there's no point flogging a dead horse, we're going to get rid of that. So you're able to now constantly use that same process and still be taking those risks, but you're not taking as massive risks. So again, we moved last year, we were in Cape Town for 6 years, and now we've moved back to Durban. And moving back to Durban again was a big risk, because you're going, everyone has a very good image of Cape Town, and we said we're going to the Durban. And when people say, I say Durban, they say, oh, you mean Umhlanga? And I have to say, no, Durban. And they go, what? I haven't been to Durban for 20 years. So again, we had to go through a process of bringing executives to the Durban beachfront where they hadn't been for 20 years. And we gave them a fantastic positive experience. So they walked out going, wow, that was awesome. But it was again that risk of them. They could have gone there and said, we should have not been in Durban. But it was that same process that you had to go through.
Well, as the next Durbanite, I applaud you for your choice of city. And we've come to the end of this. What I just want to tell you, my takeout from this is really what I've learned here is that really it's around looking at starting off with what happens if you didn't have the current path in place. How would you reinvent this from the beginning if there wasn't anything in place? It gives you an insight where to go. That's what And the other thing is there's an engineering approach, which is how do we solve this problem? And that quite methodically is how you built the Loeries. Is that a good summary?
I would say to a large extent. I wouldn't say, that approach, it's ingrained now, so I don't sit with a textbook, step 1, step 2. But the engineering approach is actually simple in that it basically says first review the situation. So look at the situation, check the literature, make sure you understand what exactly it is that you're looking at. So you first look before you leap, and that's a big thing. I think a lot of people just fly in and you say, but you didn't do your homework. So it says, don't do a single thing, just learn. Okay. Then you move on.
Okay. Andrew, it's been such an honor having you on the show. And
Thank
my
you.
first guest to take their shoes off.
Great, I loved it.
Great. Up next, I'm joined by Lebo Moshego from Fushizi, and he'll give you some insight into what you can expect from your millennial employees. Do stay tuned.
Get your seat to South Africa's biggest boardroom meeting. The Sunday Times Top 100 Companies proudly presents the second annual Directors Event, brought to you by Financial Services Group MMI Holdings and in association with the Institute of Directors. A meeting between South Africa's most influential leaders to discuss and form collaborations geared towards building the nation. Join us on the 8th of April as we confront crucial issues from South Africa's global competitiveness to innovation that pays, from quality, affordable healthcare to the importance of education and skills development. To participate either as a delegate or through corporate partnership, visit www.thedirectorsevent.co.za.
You might be able to rock that Excel spreadsheet or make those books balance, but Do you have the soft skills you need to take your career to the next level? Can you give a great presentation, deal with toxic colleagues, or work a room? Masterclass brings you lessons in personal development from the experts in their fields. It's the soft skills they don't teach you in business school that can make all the difference to your career. Tune in for Masterclass at these times.
This is the Big Small Business Show. Welcome back. Now, the author is unknown, but a while ago there was a saying going around. The MD came to the CEO and said,